You've decided to buy your life insurance policy. Now you have to decide from who.
You're listening to Wealth Talks, where we talk about solutions, money, and other things that create wealth in your life.
You know, there's always an urgency to make sure that you have your life insured. Nobody knows when the time comes, but we all know that nobody gets out of this life without dying. And so there is some critical mass behind saying, let's get this life insurance going. At the same time, you shouldn't feel pressured by any other types of tactics that are used to make you buy a policy from somebody. Let's talk about some of those.
Yeah, because there's motivation and there's pressure tactics. And Mom, you're here on the podcast with us. You get to hear about a lot of those pressure tactics as people call in. What do you hear about most often?
Well, I think sometimes they're pressured because this agent has told them they've got to do it now. When I further question that, there's not really anything presented that says now's got to be when it is. I have heard that products are going to expire, and what often happens is that people have already been scheduled, they've had their lab work completed, and now they're feeling pressure that they've got to follow through and get this product purchased. And sometimes they don't even know what the product is going to be. They haven't even been shown an illustration. Can you imagine going to a car lot to buy a car, and they make you sign the paperwork and fill out all your financial information, and they haven't even shown you a car yet? I mean, what if it's got huge dents in it?
You know, we bought a car like that one time. We just knew we liked the Ford Expedition, and we thought we would like the new model. They weren't even on the showroom yet, and we ordered it directly from the factory, and we got it, and we hated it. We ended up trading it back in.
They had changed the seats somehow.
They traded the whole design. So the thing is you don't need to do anything that's not affordable or comfortable for you. Those are the two rules that you need to always consider when you're buying anything, but especially buying a life insurance policy. Because if it's not affordable, you won't be able to do it. And if it's not comfortable, then after a few months, maybe a few years, that comfort is going to get even less uncomfortable. And you could stop paying the premiums because of that. And that could end up costing you money.
So some of the pressure tactics that we see insurance agents applying commonly is, like you said, the product's expiring or changing, or something is going to change with it, or the medicals are expiring. That usually happens when an agent will order the medicals before they're actually sending the application in.
Now, there can be a really case to be made here, because medicals do expire. But how long are medicals good for, Michelle?
Well, they're usually good for a year.
Yeah, so if someone's saying your medicals are going to expire and it's only been 3 or 4 weeks or maybe 2 or 3 months, they're not telling you the truth. You don't need to fall for that tactic. That's a pressure tactic.
So another way that agents will use pressure tactics, or maybe avoidance, we'll call it, is they don't show the illustration, or maybe they only show part of the illustration. They take out the pages with the guaranteed values on it, show just the non-guarantees. And you always want to make sure that you see the full illustration.
Absolutely. And you want to see that full illustration before you sign it. There is a certain page in the illustration that you have to sign. And if you read that page, it says this is not a complete illustration without all the other pages involved in it. So if you're not seeing those, you're just getting one page and not multiple pages of the illustration. That's not something that you should even think about signing.
Right. And then something else, we also mentioned is being told that the insurance company is doing away with that product. Well, it's true that insurance company products come and go, kind of like brands at your grocery store. Maybe they change it a little bit here and there. But I don't think that I've ever seen something so hugely drastic that you would just really lament having missed an opportunity of purchasing that life insurance policy. And then true, another thing that happens is as time goes on, of course, you get older and you might cross the mark where your age changes. And
that's a deadline.
Yeah, and there are ways to remedy that a little bit, but if it's really a drastic condition that you've got to a situation where you're being so pressured to make that purchase now, I would just say settle down.
Take a deep breath.
And that's true with any decision you've got to make. Yes, you want to make sure that you're doing things on time, but sometimes you just need to step back a minute, list out the pros, list out the cons, make sure your questions are answered before you make your commitment.
At the same time, I want to bring up some really interesting research that you need to be aware of so that you're aware of how you make decisions. Typically, we take less time on what house we're going to buy, which is probably one of the biggest major purchases we make in our lifetime, than we do on which brand of shampoo we're going to buy at the store or which deodorant. We might spend more time researching small ticket items than what we do for major ticket items. And so that's just the way that the human mind works and reasons. So you have to be aware of that as you're coming into this and realize that any agent is going to try to encourage you to cause this contract to be signed sooner than later, including us. But you shouldn't have to be felt like you're being forced into it because of things out of the agent's control. If it makes logical sense and they can explain it to you, and that's why we're taking this time to help you understand, medicals are good for a year. Products don't really expire that often, okay? Be aware of what your rights are in this before you feel pressured by someone to close this because you get the panic motion.
And one of the biggest red flags, if you're working with an agent, if they refuse to answer questions or avoid the questions and belittle your understanding, that's the sign that it's time to find someone different.
Well, I think that is so important because every occupation has its own language.
Certainly.
Certain
terminology.
Terms. Yeah. And so when I worked in a restaurant, we had certain terminology we used for things. When I taught school, there was certain terminology. In the IT community, there's certain terminology. So in the insurance world, it's no different. And when you want to purchase a policy, you shouldn't be expected to understand all the terms. But when you're having a question about something, you have the right to be told what it is so that you can understand and not be belittled about it. I mean, certainly we know that if we take the time to educate you, then you're going to be able to understand so that you can make the decision you need to make. You don't have to be left in the dark, just trusting the experts.
This last month, early January, one of my mentors, John Bogle, passed away at 89 years of age. And all the headlines that I read about him were kind of ridiculing how he had missed out on becoming a billionaire because he had decided to give people low-fee mutual funds. In fact, there was no cost for that. There was just a small small trading fee attached to it.
Yeah, Vanguard was known for extremely low fees.
So he died with an $80 million portfolio, which is nothing to laugh at. But the headlines were mocking him that he hadn't become a billionaire because of that choice. Well, today I read an article about Tom Brady, and whether you like Brady or not, you have to understand that he has given up over $60 million of contract money back to the team so Belichick can add more talent to the Patriots team. That's the kind of team players like Jack Bogle and Tom Brady that you want to team up with. And that's what we try to do here at Life Benefits.
Yes, when it comes to the design of a life insurance policy, there are different ways to design the policy that put more commission in the agent's pocket, or that the agent can design the policy to maximize cash value. That actually takes commission out of our pocket, but it gives you, the client, more control over your own money. And that's what you want at the end of the day.
Well, that's a win.
Absolutely.
That's a win. I mean, that's like a Super Bowl win.
It is. And that's our whole purpose here, is to let you keep more of the money that you make and to be able to manage more money out of your policy. And by us cutting our commissions and what we can earn, we put you back in the driver's seat.
Absolutely. Now, there is a limit to how far you want to cut commission on a policy design like that, because one of the things that we have looked at is some agents will put a big term rider on a policy to maximize the cash value. That cuts the base policy down even further, but there's a cost to that term policy.
It's a cost to the owner of the policy.
Yes, and it puts restrictions on what the owner can do with that policy. You have to leave that term rider on for a certain amount of time, and it just doesn't provide overall the best growth. So it is a balance here that we're talking about.
So just today, I was looking at one of those term rider policies, and with the same amount of premium paid for 20 years on a policy that has a term rider, guaranteed cash values were $25,000 to $40,000 less on illustrations I ran with different companies that didn't have the term rider using the same amount of premium. Same individual, same cash value. $25,000 to $40,000 difference. That's really what that term rider is costing you. You just don't see it happening.
Wow. That's amazing. So other types of, the types of pressure tactics and motivation that people use are, they really come in all shapes, sizes, and forms. Sometimes the special trips that different insurance companies will promote will encourage an agent to put pressure on a client.
Oh, incentive-based rewards for,
Certainly.
You do this many dollars in commission, and then we'll take you on this trip for, blah, 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 blah. And then towards the end of the year, they're trying to make those cutoffs. And I know our office, in the past, we've received lots of calls, emails from the insurance company saying, can we place this case? Can we place this case before the end of the year? And to us, it's like, well, we don't know. We're waiting for the client to decide, if they want to issue this way or that way. They're, it's holiday time and they're busy thinking about something else. And we're assisting them through that process, but we're not pressuring them.
Yeah. Well, speaking of rewards and bonuses that you get from the insurance company, we jokingly say around here that if we took all the trips that we qualified for, that the insurance company will pay us for the sales that we do, we'd never have time to work with you, our clients. So those things are really not, I can't even remember the last trip we took that was paid for by an insurance company. It's just something that we don't participate in because our goal is focused on you, the client. How can we serve you? How can we get you to where you want to be in the most efficient and cost-effective way?
Now, one of the things that I want to mention here about about this is there is a deadline with all of this. None of us are getting any younger. Like you said, Dad, there is a time that that all of us are going to pass someday. So life insurance is absolutely time sensitive. And what we're not advocating procrastination here. We're advocating to take the time that you need to be comfortable, to make sure the decision is affordable for you. And then, yes, you want to take that action as quickly as you can.
And I can attest to this because one day I was sitting in the office and I got a phone call from a father who asked me did my son buy life insurance from you? His son was an adult, I don't know, 30s or 40s. And I said, well, no, he didn't. And we continued talking. It turned out that his son had passed. And he found an email that our company sent in his email. And he was hoping that his son had followed through and purchased that policy for his family. So that was a very sad time that I spent time on that phone with that father. But that's one of my jobs, is to follow up with people and talk with them and remind them that, when they had to cancel an appointment, oh, sorry, I can't make it. Something came up. I'll reschedule with you. And I haven't heard from them for 3 weeks. And so I give a call or send an email. And sometimes I feel like, well, maybe I'm bothering this person too much. But then when I think about that son, or I think about all the people that have said, oh, I am so glad you kept up with this and were able to help me out with this. So that's important.
There's other deadlines too. And that's really important that we realize that this is a life or death situation. So it isn't procrastination that we're advocating. It is due diligence and not being pressured into something that you're not comfortable with. But let's say that you've taken your application, you've gone through underwriting, and now the agent comes back and says you've been approved, and things have changed in your life a little bit, and you're not able really to comfortably afford to pay that premium right now. How long do you have before that policy that has been approved just kind of disappears and you have to start over again?
So usually you have 60 days to accept a policy. And then if for some reason you do need to go longer, oftentimes there will be, they can give some additional time, or maybe they will need extra requirements, such as a form signed. Sometimes they'll need another application. But usually, if you keep the lines of communication open, you either have some leeway or you will be told just what requirements will be needed.
And so now let's say that you buy the policy and you have it in your hand and you're looking at it and you go, boy, this is really something I'm just not comfortable with at all. I thought I understood this, but I don't. Every state in the union gives you 10 days to turn that policy back in and say, I don't want it. And if that happens, the insurance company just sends you a check back for what you paid for them. Some states give you even longer than that.
20 to 30 days.
20 to 30 days.
But every state gives at least 10.
It's called a free look period. So you can, in your particular state, you can Google a free look period in whatever state you're in.
Now, there's one other thing, and that is if you're feeling pressured right now to buy because a friend or a family member or maybe your local agent says, you got to do this right now, okay? And you haven't had a time to really do any comparative shopping, then it might be a good idea to do that, because in our research, we have found that sometimes it would be better just to write your friend, your family member, or your local agent a check and just give them some money and go buy your policy somewhere else, because you'll save that much money over the long run.
And you don't have to stay local, shopping for life insurance. Some people will want to stay local, use the, even work with somebody in their town. It's great if you can do that, but it doesn't always, give you the best product that you're looking for.
Well, that's like, when you buy a vehicle, if you drive, 120 miles down the road to another dealership, the chances are you might find a better deal than you're going to get locally.
Sure.
And so that's why we work nationwide with clients all across the 50 states, because we can provide oftentimes much better deals than what you can get locally.
Yeah.
So
when
Tom,
you're working with your finances with an agent, you can either choose to go with a generalist or a specialist. And we're specialists. Very proud of that.
So I was just thinking, too, just before you commented, John, I do remember when we bought a car, I don't know, we traveled 45 miles down the road because we went to a particular car dealership, but it was because of the experience we had there before. We knew their prices were lower, and then when you made that phone call to say, hey, what is your price there? we knew that was a place to go. And their service, we had experienced their service before. It was fantastic. And so it was just a real great experience.
And in that case, it was over $10,000 that we saved.
Yeah, that was pretty nice.
So it's worth the 30, 45-minute drive because,
yes, it was.
Hey,
Certainly. So a couple of things I want to mention here. We have a workshop coming up in Dallas, Texas next week. That'll be February 16th, or I guess it's not next week, the following week. So Dallas, February 16th, 1 to 5 Central Time. You can find the details of that on our website or call our office, 702-660-7000. This is one of some smaller workshops that we'll be doing around the country this year.
Oh, and I get the question all the time, who are these workshops for? I'll tell you what, we will have people who are established clients. We will have people who are newbies. We have people on the list that we don't even know who they are. So is it for you? Yes, I think so. If you're interested in finding out if participating whole life insurance can be a benefit to you, or you already have a policy and want to figure out, understand it better and how to use it better, this is for you.
And if you are another life insurance agent, this is not for you. We have an event just for you right here in Las Vegas coming up in June, Producers Planet. That is for any life insurance agent or agent that would like to learn more about how the Perpetual Wealth Code works, how to design policies to keep the most money in your client's pocket rather than, and we do that. That's been a real success for people that have come. I've been very delighted that they've attended. They've learned a lot.
And to find more information on that event, you would also call our office, 702-660-7000.
That's right. All right. So also, you can contact our office for a strategy session. You can talk one-on-one with us. Have us take a look. If you're currently looking at a life insurance policy, have us take a look at it and give you a second opinion on that. Or contact us. We'll be happy to help you with a policy to fit your particular needs.
You know, there's a lot of people out there that want to help you maximize your money flow. Dave Ramsey is one of those people. Susie Orman is another. They want to have you cut up your credit cards and live on a very tight budget and get rid of all kinds of debt that maybe is not in your best interest. And the truth of the matter is that can almost become to the point where you're not living. And what we focus on here at Life Benefits is optimizing your cash flow, because you should taste a little bit of retirement every day. And so if someone's telling you, oh, you shouldn't go to Starbucks, or you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't that, then you need to back up and think, wait a second, that's my little piece of heaven right now. Do I really want to give that up just so that I can supposedly have more money when I'm turned 65 or have more money when I'm 75? There is a better way to plan.
Yeah. And it's a balance, because you have people that go on a tight budget like that to save up for the future. And then you have the people that say, well, what if I never live that long? And they blow it all today. Neither option is ideal.
The truth of the matter is, how do you manage your money right now to make the cash flow that takes place naturally in your life return to you more frequently? Because money, like anything else that circulates, has to be contained. And if it's flowing in the control of somebody else, they're going to get the most benefit out of it. But if you can learn to control that flow, then you'll get the most benefit out of it.
All right. You are listening to Wealth Talks, where we talk about solutions, money, and other things that create wealth in your life. Have a great week.